welcome to the 47th GLC webinar, Achieving Synergy Between the Coaching and Training. And this webinar is brought to you by the IFC Grow Learn Connect program that was developed in collaboration with the government of Luxembourg. And of course, we extend our sincere appreciation to our volunteer presenter, Adaora Ayoade, and her whole team, Easy37 Solutions, who made this webinar possible. As always, I must remind you that this session is being recorded, you should be able to find the recording of today's session on the webinar page, especially if you would like to share it with your colleagues or friends, or perhaps rewatch the session for your own benefit. If you would like to type a question or comment, please make sure that you send it to everyone so that everyone can see your contribution. And we always love talking to you. We love interacting with you. So if you would like us to open the microphone, we would be most happy to do that. Just raise your hand virtually and we will unmute you. And since today we're talking about training and coaching, I just wanted to remind you about two exciting opportunities if you would like to deepen your knowledge in coaching. So first of all, the IFC Grow Learn Connect program developed the self-paced course, Coaching for Improved Performance. So as I mentioned, this is a self-paced course. It's available in English and French. It's completely free of charge, available to you 24/7. It's a little bit lengthy. It has over 10 modules, so it may take about 11 hours to complete. So if you have the stamina and perseverance, and if you're good at learning at your own pace, then we definitely encourage you to keep exploring coaching using that self-paced program or course. However, if you prefer to learn as a group or as part of the group, then please consider joining the Professional Coach Certification Program that is offered by Easy37 Solutions. And this program is starting on November 17th, so the date has changed. So it is not too late to sign up if you would like to be part of the group and eventually get certified as a coach. So please consider that opportunity. Now, without further ado, I would like to welcome back Adaora. Adaora is an executive and leadership coach and CEO of Easy37 Solutions. She is a professional certified coach. She is the past president and board member of the Nigeria chapter of the International Coaching Federation. Adaora has over 20 years of senior level experience in facilitation, team development, and coaching. So Adaora, the floor is yours, and I hope everyone enjoys today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Anna, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here. I hope you can all hear me very well. Okay, so thank you, Anna. Are you going to switch to my slides? Thank you, Afia. I can see your message in the chat that you can hear me. Thank you so much. Okay, super. So I just want to double check with you, Anna. Are you going to do the switch? So because your slides.
Adaora, you're the presenter, but I think, yeah, you're the presenter.
Give me a moment.
So you'll have to make the switch.
All right. Let me know if you can see my slides coming up.
Yep,
Anna, can you see?
We can see it. Yes, I confirm, Adaora.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you so much. So Anna, thank you so much for that introduction, and warm welcome to everyone who has introduced themselves in the chat box. It's great to connect with you all, for those who are joining here again. And I really want to appreciate and acknowledge you, Anna, and you, Leah, and your entire team for all the support to bring professional development opportunities, globally. I also want to do a shout out to the Easy37 Solutions team. It's an absolute pleasure to be here connected with us all. So we're looking at a topic that I feel so passionate about, which is the synergy between coaching and training. Yes, coaching is so important. Yes, training is so important. But when we bring them together, we have something that is so much more powerful, more impacting. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today, so that we don't lose out on the opportunity to maximize the opportunity that can be accrued from bringing coaching and training together. So we'd like to know, what is your primary role? I'd like to know who we have in the audience with us today. So I'm going to open a poll to know whether you are a trainer, whether you are a coach, whether you are a manager, or whether you have another role. I'd like to know who you are. So please, I'd like you to share that with us in a moment. Just bear with me one moment. I'm going to open up my poll and get to see who we have with us today. Okay, so you should be seeing my poll now. I'm getting so many messages coming up in the chat covering the poll, but you should be able to see the poll now. So please indicate, and if it's something other and you want to put that in the chat box, please feel free. So Anna, I'm going to be leaning on you to co-facilitate with supporting on the chat box. Make sure I don't miss out any comments that are shared. That's important. If that's okay, Anna.
Of course, it's my pleasure, Adaora.
Super, thank you so much. So I can see the responses coming in, and I can see that we have trainers, a number of trainers in the house. Fantastic, thank you. We have a couple of coaches. We have a few coaches as well. A number of people here are managers, and we have other. So other, please put that in the chat box and let's know who you are. Every single person here is important. So please let's know who you are. I will leave the poll open for a few more seconds before I close it and check what our responses are. So please jump in there and indicate who you are so that we can acknowledge your presence. Trainers are currently leading and followed by managers. So we don't have that many coaches in the house in comparison to trainers. Okay. All right, so I'm going to assume that everybody has recorded what they are so that I can close my poll now. Okay. And my chat is, bear with me one moment. I have so many more comments coming in. This is interesting. Close the poll. Okay. So please let me know if you can see the feedback from the poll. We have more people here who are trainers, then followed by other. So Anna, could you let me know? Thank you, Femi. Anna, please, could you let me know who is, if anybody is putting what they are in the chat box as other? We have a few managers.
Yes.
Thank you.
So besides coaches, we also have a counselor. Nafis says is a coach and a counselor. HR professional, so that's Chikar. Kurtida said, I'm a patient educator advocate. Afia says, I'm a coach and trainer too, so double hat.
Nice.
Lecturer from Bangladesh. Customer service support specialist. Project manager. So we have a very diverse audience today.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, I thank you again because we're going to be leaning on you to really lend your voice to this very important conversation so we can change the narrative of just coaching, just training, and rather bringing it all together. So glad that we have a nice varied mix of professionals in the house. So what are we going to be looking at? So we have 3 major content areas. And the first is we're going to look at coaching versus training. What are the key differences and what are the complementary roles? We achieve so much more when we complement each other instead of competing. And we're going to look at that so that at the end of today's session, you are able to explain the key differences between coaching and training, and of course, how they complement each other. It's so interesting how sometimes I have coaching sessions and then someone says, oh, that you're training. And I'm like, no, that was actually a coaching session. It's different from training. So we're going to really be able to explain the differences. Yes, they're both very important as developmental initiatives, but they're different. The second content area we're going to look at, the techniques for actually integrating coaching into your training programs. And what we want to achieve is to be able to recognize techniques for integrating coaching into training. So I'm so pleased we have a lot of trainers in the house with us today in this space, in this learning space, because you're going to learn how you can integrate coaching into your training. You're definitely in the right place. Now, the third thing we're going to look at, third content area, is the strategies. What are the strategies for reinforcing and sustaining the skills through coaching? So, strategies for reinforcing and sustaining skills through coaching. What we want you to achieve at the end of today's session is to be able to list strategies for reinforcing and sustaining skills through coaching. So it's not a case of, oh, I'm telling you this is good to do, but how do you do it? We're going to learn how today. And I do know that today's session is for an hour and a half. So please, on the hour, don't run away, because we will be going for an hour and a half today. And I do know that Anna has fantastic and important announcements as we wrap up the session later today. So that's the flow. How do we want to engage? How do we want to engage? And I thank all those who are still introducing themselves in the chat box, still putting their introductions in the chat box. You're very welcome. Please, we want to bring a positive mood into this space. When you bring a positive mood, you create such a positive learning environment. And guess what? When our emotions, the positive emotions go up, our creativity, our innovativeness, our ability to learn at the height of its peak, so to speak, will go up. So please bring a positive mood and come with an open mind. The fact that you're here in itself is a demonstration that you have an open mind and you are open to learning. So really excited to have you here. And then please be ready to share so everyone learns. I've said, and I will say, that if I bring an apple and you bring an apple and we exchange it, we still both have one apple each. But if I bring an idea and you bring an idea and we exchange, we have two ideas each. So you can imagine, if you share your thoughts, share your comments in the chat box, unmute if you have something to share, everyone will learn a lot more. And then, of course, raise your hands if you want to speak. Anna has already shared that she cannot mute you and you can share. So if there's anything else you think we need to consider as part of our norms, please put it in the chat box. Anything else, please put it in the chat box. I'll pause for a moment to see if any other thoughts come up on how we want to engage together today. Oh, I'm so pleased to see all the different people from all over being here. Really fantastic mix of learning participants. Okay, so it seems we're fine with our norms of engagement. So let's proceed. So what is synergy? What is synergy? Really curious to know what you think synergy is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch another poll to inquire which of the following you feel truly reflects synergy. And after you share your answer, I will ask for you to expand on it in the chat box or raise your hand and say why you've made that selection. I would really want to know why you made that selection. So I'm going to launch another poll and let's give our answers to this poll. Which of the following reflects synergy? Is it 0 plus 1 equals to 1? it 1 plus 1 equals to 2? Is it 1 plus 2 equals to 3? Or is it 2 plus 3 equals to 7? What do you think? So I'm getting a few responses coming in, and I'm seeing interesting responses, actually. So I've got a few people say 1 plus 1 equals to 2. Well, thank you for your responses. Appreciate that responses are coming in. I have 1 plus 2 equals to 3. We've got a few responses for that. We have 2 plus 3 equals to 7. And then we have some people who have not even answered. We've agreed to our norms. If you're here, you're part of this engagement. So please, you have to share because you care. So which is it? The answer 1? Is the answer 2? Is the answer 3? Or is it 7? And the beautiful thing about it being in a space where coach is facilitating is there's no judgment. For the coaches in the house, I see you, I see Coach Kebby, I see Coach Hofford, Coach Omotala, I see Coach Patricia, I see all the coaches in the house. We all know this is a safe space. So please just give your answers and feel comfortable doing so. Okay. So I'm going to close the poll so that we can see the answers. And I want to know what informed that. So please do feel free to, please put your answers only in the poll, not in the chat box. Thank you. Okay. All right, so we're doing a countdown. Thank you so much. We're doing a countdown now to see what we have. All right, so here we are. Bear with me one moment, trying to close this poll, and comments are still coming in. Okay, now this is not, give me a moment. No more comments in the chat box for a moment. Let's see what our results are looking at. Okay, thank you so much, Ofon. I've seen your comment. That's fine. Just give me a moment. Close the poll, and then we'll take your comment. So you should be able to see the results now. And I can see a number of people said 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 3 is 7. Takes the majority. Would anybody like to share? Let's give you a moment to please put your comment in the chat box or raise your hand to share. What
I do see a couple of raised hands from Deji and Kayode, so maybe I will start unmuting.
Yes, please.
Deji, I think you were first, so please go ahead. I just unmuted you. Deji?
Okay, should we try somebody else?
Kayode? Kayode, you had your hand raised. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, for me, Kayode.
Yes, Kayode, we can hear you well. So what would you say? What was the correct answer?
I think the correct answer, by my understanding of what synergy is a situation is 2 plus 3 equals to 7, where a combination of two sum produces an answer that is greater than the sum together. That is my own understanding of synergy. Have I got that right? That is when the combination of two items produces a sum that is greater than the combination itself. So it's synergy.
Thank you, Kayode. Thank you so much for your feedback. So I'll take one more before I share. Let's hear from one more person. I know that, Anna, you saw a couple of hands.
Yes, they disappeared. Well, but
okay.
Patricia. Okay, Patricia, yes. I'm going to unmute you.
Yes, please.
Let's go ahead.
Synergy represents So I just felt the ground moves a little bit, the ground shakes a little bit when there is synergy. And so that's why I selected 2 + 3 = 7. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that metaphor, Patricia. Absolutely. And Kayode as well. Absolutely. So let's look at what synergy is. Now you can see it's the combined effect achieved by the interaction of multiple elements, which produces a greater result than the sum of their individual effects. So just like you said, Kayode, which was spot on, it can't be 1 + 1 = 2 because that's the sum. It is, the result is greater than the sum. And like Coach Patricia said, you have that ground shaking impact. So that's what synergy is. And that's what happens when you combine coaching and training. And so that's the synergy we want to achieve. Something that is shaking the ground, something that is more than the sum of the individual parts, than just bringing coaching to supplement or complement. No, a synergistic relationship is what we're looking at. So quite often people, say, coaching is this, coaching is that, and we have so much market confusion and dilution around what coaching truly is. So we want to look at what coaching is and what training is. Now, looking at coaching, first of all, according to Sir John Whitmore, who is the pioneer of the coaching industry, he says coaching is unlocking people's potential to maximize their own performance. It's helping them learn rather than teaching them. And for coaches in the house, you can resonate very well with this, I'm sure. So it is helping them learn rather than teaching them. So we can already see that coaching is not about teaching for the trainers in the house who may not be so familiar with coaching. And again, you can see the keywords there, unlocking people's potential to maximize performance. On the other hand, let's look at training. Training is a process that helps your employees or individuals to improve their performance and their career growth by acquiring specific knowledge and skills for a specific job or task. Please stay with us. Stay with us. We're going somewhere today. Now, this is a definition by the Harvard Business Review. Okay, so also geared at improving performance. And there's some keywords here that speak to acquiring specific knowledge and skills for a specific task. Having looked at both elements, there are some key differences, and we want to know, what are they? What are the differences between the two? Please put in the chat box what you consider to be the key differences between coaching and training. Differences between coaching and training. We've had a look at the definitions. And now we want to see, what are the key differences? Kertida, apologies that you could not see the previous slide, so you couldn't answer. We were speaking to synergy and what would represent it best. So this is an opportunity now for you to share your thoughts around the differences between coaching and training. Give us a few moments to put that in the chat box. And of course, if you prefer to speak, as Anna has said, just raise your hand, and just as we agreed with the norms. Okay. All right. I can see some comments coming in. But Patricia, thank you so much. Learning generated from within, coaching. But Femi says directiveness. Coaching doesn't have. Thank you. Training has. Afia says training is directive and coaching is non-directive. I see. Patricia again says training, learning generated from outside of the person. Deji, thank you so much for your comment. Deji said with coaching is more around helping people to discover the answer or the path themselves through questions and provocations, whereas training is imparting specific skills for a specific task or competency. Thank you for that, Deji. well thought through and captured. Abika says, in coaching, you are not allowed to tell, but in training, you tell. Very good. Yes, so in training, the onus on the trainer, according to Habiba. In coaching, the onus is on the learner and learning to learn and problem solve. Thank you so much, Habiba. Isn't it so interesting when you say, you speak to someone and say, yeah, I'm a coach. I train people, I tell them how to do it. And you're like, oh, that is not coaching. Princess Wankwa, thank you so much. Training is competency-based, while coaching is more about helping people develop or unlock their potential. Thank you for your contribution, Princess. And Kayode, we'll just take Kayode's, who says coaching is much more encompassing than training. Training is part of coaching in a Venn diagram. Interesting contribution, Kayode. We'll see what it truly is. Okay, so thank you, Ofon. Training focuses on a specific knowledge to apply, but coaching brings out one's potential and is the individual sharing. Great, 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 great contributions. Let's find out some more. So, as you can see on the screen, some of what I've captured, you have captured already, which is excellent. So the first aspect, if we look at the first row, it speaks to the focus when we look at the differences between coaching and training. And the focus with training is more around aptitude, the skill acquisition, the knowledge acquisition. Yeah? And so we typically would see a knowledge shift when it comes to training. On the other hand, when it comes to coaching, you find that it's more around attitude. Could it be that this individual needs to have more confidence? Could it be that this individual needs to have more clarity? Could it be that this individual needs courage? It could be something around behavioral shifts that we're looking at quite often in coaching. So the focus sometimes is quite distinct. The second role looks at structure. And you would find that with training, the trainer would typically have a preset curriculum that they will share with the learner. Whereas with coaching, you have more flexibility. And the coaching engagement will lead to things emerging in the moment that could even, make the learner decide that I don't want to talk, I don't want to go in that direction. This is what's coming up for me now. And this is what's most important for me at this time. So can we explore this, especially in one-to-one coaching? You may find that happening. So you find that coaching incorporates a lot more flexibility. Now let's look at the approach when it comes to training versus coaching. And you said this in the chat box. It came up a number of times that in training, it is more directive and trainer-led, whereas with coaching, it's more collaborative and is typically driven by open-ended questions posed by the coach. So you can see why when people use the terms interchangeably, we're like, they are different. Okay. In terms of the outcomes, though, which is the last row, yes, you find that in training, you would measure the knowledge or skills acquired. In coaching, you'll be measuring behavioral change and self-discovery. So it's important that we recognize, and I'm so pleased that we do, that there are some key differences between coaching and training. Now, they also complement each other beyond being different and distinct. They also complement each other. Okay, and I'm seeing some comments coming in the chat box. So I'm gonna have a look. Thank you so much. Okay. Coaching may be more intensive, personalized, and long-term. Absolutely. So you can see there's so many areas that they could differ. Okay. So how do they complement each other? We're going to look at this. And this is really important because organizations that offer training alone would typically experience a 22% increase in productivity. When that is combined with coaching, that figure will rise to 88%. And this was recorded by the Public Personnel Management. Now, so we've looked at productivity. Harvard Business Review also reported that coaching enhances retention of training content by 50%, as it provides a structure for employees to revisit and practice the skills over time. And we're going to find out how. So it's really important to consider how coaching can complement your training initiatives. Okay, so let's look at this synergy. Kayode told us about it, because Patricia told us about it, and some of you put that in the chat box. When coaching and training are combined, they create a dynamic approach to development, enhancing both the immediate skill acquisition and the long-term application. What you find is that training might impart the what and the how, whereas coaching will help employees integrate these new behaviors. Don't forget, we're talking about behavioral shift in coaching into their daily work, which will be aligned with the organizational values. And so what you find is you have a culture of continuous growth and accountability. There's also some other research that has been shared. One is from the Center for Creative Leadership, and they emphasize that coaching will enhance training outcomes by embedding behavioral change. And what they found in terms of the data they were able to gather is that 72% of leaders showed sustained improvement when coaching was followed by training programs. So you have a training program and then you incorporate coaching after your training program to reinforce and shake the ground, as Coach Patricia said. There's another study that was published by the Journal of Workplace Learning that said that training without reinforcement can lead to about 30% retention after 6 months, while coaching's personalized approach significantly boosts engagement and retention. So there are too many reasons not to embrace this opportunity. Yet another study now by McKinsey & Co. And they report that coaching-led programs enhance employee engagement by 46%, fostering a more profound personal development than training alone. Now, I see there's a comment from Deji, and I want to pick that up. Training equips for the now. Coaching helps to tie the skills acquired through training for the employee's future. It helps them answer the why. Woo! Deji, I don't know if I should put coach behind as a prefix to your name, because you've nailed this. Absolutely. Now, Harvard Business Review highlights that when you combine coaching with training, it will improve skill retention. So we've talked about engagement. We've talked about productivity. Now we're talking about skill retention by over 50%. Employees are more likely to apply the learned concept. So like Deji said, going beyond the now, well into the future. When they have a coach to support their journey, we always think that you've had the training now. What's happening? Why are you not translating that learning into action? But sometimes it's like riding a bicycle, isn't it? For some people, I've learned to ride the bicycle, but it's still a little bit shaky because I've just learned. So I'm going left and right. But when I have a coach to support me, to walk side by side with me, I'm happier to try it out. And even if I fall, I'm unlikely to fall to the ground and graze my knees. And so there's so much research that underscores the importance of adding coaching to training for a more robust development and growth of employees. For the trainers in the house, and we found out that we have more trainers in the house when we started. Maybe the dynamics have shifted now. But for trainers in the house, you're probably familiar with IFC's, that's the International Finance Corporation's learning cycle elements that are applied in coaching. So IFC has a facilitating learning online and in-person program, okay? And it speaks to some indicators that are non-negotiable when facilitating a session. And these indicators can also be applied in a coaching session for maximum impact. So yes, we're talking about bringing coaching into training to reinforce. Guess what? There are some learnings from training, especially if you're a certified IFC-LPI trainer. And if you're here and you're not certified with IFC's LPI's facilitating learning online and in-person program, then you really need to reach out to us for us to tell you about that, because there's some competencies that you must embrace to demonstrate that, yes, you are a skilled facilitator. And there are some elements that are part of these competencies. So let's look at what they are. A little bit of a busy screen here, but these are some of the elements. And for trainers in the house, I shout out to you. You can see the learning cycle on the left, okay? And the learning cycle typically has 4 elements. And the first element is gloss. And if you look at the top right-hand side of this image, for those who may not be familiar with it, IFC-LPI certified trainers are familiar with this. For those who are in the house, we need to make this an inclusive space. The top right-hand corner of this diagram, in the learning cycle, speaks to what we call GLOSS. It's an acronym, and the trainers are going to begin to put that in the chat box right now. Thank you. And it looks at when you start your training, you need to appeal to reflectors, people who have a learning style that are called reflectors. They want to be motivated. They're asking, why? Why should I listen to you? Why should I spend my time in this training? Why should I invest my time, my 1.5 hours? That you need to get their attention. The gloss is like the whiffing. What's in it for me? After you've gotten the attention of your participants, you've motivated them, you move to your ease. And of course, your theorists in the house, you will appeal to that learning style. They want to know, okay, what is it you want to teach me? Let's get on with it. And that's where the acronym EASE comes in. We move from there to the next part of this square, I should call it that, the bottom left. And you need to give feedback. The pragmatists want you to help them with feedback to facilitate their learning. And this speaks to feed. And then the final one, top left-hand corner, the activists are asking, okay, I've heard all of this now. How do I utilize it? How do I utilize it? I want to know how to take this and apply it. And that's off. How do you prepare your participants to be able to go off and apply the learning? So I'd like to ask, if you're a trainer in the house, can you put in the chat box for us, what is the importance of GLOSS, or what does it stand for? Ease, feed, and off. I will pause. You can pick any of them, or you can pick all 4. What does GLOSS mean? What does ease mean? What does feed mean? And what does off mean? And if you're not a certified trainer, you need to learn about this. It transforms your trainings. Okay, let's see what we have in the chat box. Okay. Okay, we have just one comment. I think other people are typing, so we're going to give them some time to share. Thank you so much, Oluwaseun, for giving away the answer. G is get attention in GLOSS. L in the acronym GLOSS is link to previous knowledge. Absolutely. O is outline objectives. So if you're doing a training, you're going to get your participants' attention through clapping your hand, having an activity, having something to make them feel, yes, this is exciting. I want to be part of it. And because you don't want to speak above their head, you want to link it, that's the L, to previous knowledge. They may already have some knowledge, like we had when Kayode shared today. So you want to be able to find out what they know so that there's opportunity you can link it to their previous knowledge. O is to outline the objectives. Our S and our other S state the structure. So people want to go on a journey. So what is the structure? And you saw when we started today, I took you through the contents. And of course, I also outlined the objectives. And S is stimulate interest. So let's bring this together. Let's bring this all together and tell you how it applies. Now, it's important to, if you look again on the screen, the first row, we're looking at coaching, we're looking at training. Gloss. The learning cycle elements, when it comes to coaching, the coachee will determine the goals. The coachee will determine the goals. This is the objective. This is where we're going. The coachee will determine. When it comes to training, the trainer will determine the goals. So like today, this is a training, this webinar. So of course, I shared the objectives with you. If it's a coaching, it will take a different twist. So when it comes to the next element of the learning cycle, which is ease, the coachee, that's the learner in this case, will share real world applications. So they will tell you what they have done, examples of that, what they can do, or what they're willing to even possibly try. In training, this learning cycle element is different. The trainer is the one that will share case studies, like I will do today. The trainer is one that will give you examples. So the learning cycle element of ease can be applied in coaching. Now, when it comes to the next one, that is feed. In coaching, the coachee is the person that will share what they can do. Whereas in training, the trainer is the one that will share what you can do. So at the end of this training, you're going to be able to do this and this and this. Whereas in coaching is really different. Here, the coach is one I will tell you, well, I think now that we've been through this coaching session, I feel that this is what I can, I'm willing to do, or what I feel I can do, or I'm willing to try to do. So there's that difference. When it comes to the last element of the learning cycle, which is off, in coaching, you prepare your learner, your coachee, to succeed as they leave that engagement with resources and contact details, whatever they need. Similarly, in training, that also applies. So we can see how coaching can lend some of the elements of training to be able to complement both training and coaching intervention. So you can see they complement each other. Now let's go into how. What are these techniques for integrating coaching into training programs? So we've done a lot of talking. How now do we do this? How do we now make it happen? And I'm going to share with us a few techniques for how we can actually integrate coaching into our training programs. One way is to have a pre-training coaching session. And what do I mean by that? Before you have your training, you are able to align the participants' goals with the training objectives. And what this does is that it fosters a more personalized approach that will allow the participants and the individuals to clarify their needs and anticipate how the training will apply to their roles. So pre-training coaching will help set the expectation, and it will also motivate the learners, ensuring that they are primed, that they're well primed, that they're well prepared to engage fully in the learning. So before even having training, you can bring in coaching if you haven't been doing that. This is one technique. Another one is you can use coaching after your training, post-training coaching. And what does this do? It reinforces the learning for better application. So what will happen here is that your coach will work with the participants to reinforce any newly acquired skills through practical application. And you can have structured sessions, focus on real-world application, feedback, troubleshooting. And again, studies have been shown studies have revealed, studies have been done to show, there was a study that was done by the Association for Talent Development, and they found that companies that provided post-training coaching achieved a 30 to 60% higher retention of the learned skills. And I was pleased when Deji mentioned this. So there's research to back this up. A third approach, a third technique here is blended learning. You can integrate coaching touch points within your training programs. So you don't have to do it just before. You don't have to do it just after your training, even within your training programs. So, for example, after each training module, your partners can engage, say, in a brief one-to-one or group coaching session to discuss the material, how it applies to their roles, and any challenges that they foresee. So this is done in the course of your training. And this was done by Deloitte, their Global Human Capital Trend Report, and it emphasized that the importance of coaching as an ongoing part of training, noting that such learning in the flow of work. Okay, I have just seen a comment. I'll come to that in one moment. So Deloitte noted that such learning in the flow of work will increase retention and applicability. Deloitte also found that blending coaching, so we're doing a blend here, right? Blending coaching and training within the flow of work will help organizations to see sustained improvement in skills application, particularly in areas like leadership and problem solving. I will share a case study, true case study. Okay, so I saw a comment. Afia says, would I please repeat the first way? And there's a question from Amy that we can take later. Okay. All right. Would I please repeat the first way? So I'll just go back in that case to see if this answers. So we're looking at techniques for integrating coaching. And the first way was pre-training coaching sessions. So that's before you even start your training intervention, you bring in coaching. And trainers in the house, learning and development professionals in the house, you find that your organization, management wants return on training investment. So much is spent on training investment. So you want to be able to maximize that. And so you can bring in coaching even before the training starts. So that's the first way that I shared. The second way was after the training, bringing in coaching. And then the third approach was blending it. So in the course of the training, you have coaching maybe after each module. You're most welcome, Afia. Thank you so much as well. Okay, let's look at a case study. And this is by, this was shared by IBM. And it's on the integration of coaching with training for leadership development. They had a leadership development program, and this is what they recognized. They recognized that their traditional leadership training programs were not always translating into sustained behavioral change or measurable impact on performance. Remember when we looked at the differences and we said that coaching typically brings about behavioral change. Well, guess what? They were investing so much in training, in leadership development, and they won't see behavioral change. Why will they? Okay, so they found out that yes, the leadership training sessions provided essential skills, but there was a gap in applying these skills in the real world, in high-stakes scenarios. So what did they do? To address this, IBM introduced a blended approach. And we spoke about that integrated structured coaching into its leadership training program to support the employee's journey from learning to application. We should never take it for granted. We should never assume that you've been for a training, come and, begin to apply. It's as straightforward as that. It's not always as straightforward as that. So how did IBM structure this? What they did, they started off with a pre-training coaching Before attending formal training sessions, participants were able to meet with designated coaches to discuss their leadership challenges and set specific personal objectives. What happened was that this pre-training coaching helped align each leader's goals with the training content, creating a clear, personalized path for development. Isn't it interesting? For trainers in the house, typically a lot of people will say, okay, we finish our training and you go do an action plan. Well, guess what? You can even do your action plan before you even start your training, when you're having your coaching sessions. Okay? What did IBM also do in terms of the structure? They also use a blended training and coaching, which we spoke about just recently. And what they did was that during the training sessions, they embedded regular coaching touch points. So after each module, the participants had a brief coaching session to discuss how the concepts could be applied to their individual roles. And what they found that these conversations helped the leaders to internalize the materials and anticipate how they would implement the skills on the job. There was a third approach IBM used. And this was the post-training reinforcement that we also spoke about. So following the formal training, participants continued a bi-weekly coaching session over a 6-month period. And of course, it has to be about 6 months. Behavioral shift takes time. You can't go for a 2 to 3 day training on leadership and come back and say, yes, I'm transformed. I am now the best leader they could be. Behavioral shift takes time. So IBM used 6 months to allow these participants to engage with coaches after the training, where they acquired leadership skills. What did that do? It gave their leaders space to discuss challenges and receive feedback on applying concepts like strategic decision making and team engagement. I hear people say, I have sent my people on strategic leadership training and they're back and they're still not being strategic. They're still not being strategic. It doesn't happen overnight like that. So what did IBM find in terms of results? Let's go there. They found, number one, enhanced skill retention. IBM reported a 45% increase in skill retention among participants compared to those who only attended training without follow-up coaching. The leaders were more likely to remember and effectively utilize the skills due to the repeated personalized reinforcement. Another result and impact recorded was increased confidence in application. Participants indicated higher confidence in using these leadership skills to handle complex, high-stress situations. And dare I say that sometimes in that space of leadership, you may find complex situations, high-stress situations. But these people were able to handle these much better because they had coaching. And it was particularly noticeable among new leaders who felt much better equipped to manage stress, manage teams, manage conflicts. Finally, another result recorded was sustained behavioral change. According to a follow-up evaluation, what they found was 78% of leaders demonstrated sustained behavioral changes, such as improved team communication, proactive problem solving as well. And this was attributed to the ongoing coaching that supported real-world application over an extended period, turning new skills into habits, into a way of being, into a way of doing. And so in conclusion, IBM's approach to integrating coaching within its leadership training program illustrates the tangible benefits of a blended developmental strategy. By pairing structured training with targeted coaching sessions, IBM created a program that not only imparted critical leadership skills, but also ensured that those skills were reinforced, were practiced, and were sustained over time. And this case exemplifies how combining coaching with training can lead to a more engaged, skilled leaders and better organizational outcomes. I hope I haven't lost us as I took us on that long journey of the case study. Can I get a reaction? Either a thumbs up to say you're still here, or something to say, we are still together on this learning journey. Thank you so much, Femi. Thank you, Oziofu. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Adedamwala. Thank you, Adekweju. Thank you so much. Thank you, Princess. Absolutely great to get this feedback. Thank you so much, Hannah. So now, what are some practical strategies for us to sustain this skill development through coaching? Coaches in the house. How do we bring coaching into this learning journey so that we can actually sustain the skill development? What are the practical strategies for sustaining skill development through coaching to ensure get on and coach? Thank you, Coach Patricia. Thank you. Absolutely. To ensure skills acquired through training is retained and effectively used, organizations increasingly rely on coaching as a reinforcement strategy. How? I want to know from you, how do you currently ensure that the skills you develop are effectively applied in real world settings? So you go for training, and then, I mean, what has been your own experience to ensure that the skills that you develop are effectively applied in real world settings? I'm going to pause for a moment. Please raise your hand if you'd like to share. I've been hearing my voice quite a bit. I'd love to hear somebody else's voice. How do you do this? Let's hear from you. You can put it in the chat box. You could raise your hand. Okay, thank you so much. I'm seeing some feedback here. How do you ensure that skills you develop are effectively applied in real world settings? Thank you, Coach Patricia. Get on and coach. Thank you. Afia says coaching after training. Super. So Afia, you're doing this. It sounds like you're already doing this. You're bringing in coaching after your training. So, kudos to you. Omotola says getting feedback. Aha. Okay. Thank you, Omotola. Fertida, I hope I pronounced that correctly, says regular interaction. Regular interaction. I'd love to hear what you mean by that, Fertida. A little bit more understanding around that. Amy says we followed training with coaching. Amazing. They had a development plan or action plan that they work on during training, then work on during coaching. This is fantastic. And this is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. So you already have a development plan or an action plan during the training that they continue to work on during the coaching. So thank you. So we can see that there are different ways that we can actually ensure that these skills that we develop in training are applied in real world settings. Thank you. Okay, Afia again says putting coaching into training sessions. Omotala says ask for feedback from mentor coaches and coaches. Absolutely. Thank you. So Omotala, absolutely. You can have your training and of course infuse it with feedback, either during, either or after, from mentor coaches, or even mentors, as the case may be. Dr. Sharif says get suggestions. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sharif. Antonia says requesting feedback. Coach Femi says inclusiveness in real world. Bring it all together. Amazing. Thank you. Inclusiveness in real world. Bring it all together. Make people feel comfortable. Make them feel free to want to try out their learning. Abike Wesley says observation. Kayode says practical problem solving thereafter. Najwa says training is necessary for better coaching. Antonia says allow for collaboration and inclusiveness. Yes, aligned with what Coach Femi has said. Nana says follow up and feedback on monitoring progress and so on. I think Rachel, thank you. Thank you, and Kurtida, thank you everyone. Habiba, thank you, using a coaching pass. I want to pick up on what Habiba has shared. Thank you, Habiba. Using a coaching facilitation style during training. And interestingly, IFC-LPI has what we call TPMA competencies. So there are a number of competencies. And one of them we saw earlier, the feedback, where we said feed. Now with feed, you're supposed to use a coaching style. In fact, if you're a certified trainer by IFC-LPI and you're not using coaching, well, you cannot not be using coaching style. So you will be using a coaching approach to give your feedback, because there's a technique for giving feedback if you want it to be effective. So Habiba, thank you for that. Very, very important. So a trainer is like a coach, because a trainer also uses a coaching facilitation style during training on how they give feedback. Frame it, because if you don't frame it and you just give it, it's going to land a little bit too hard. Yeah, so there's a way to do it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Habiba. Thank you, Habiba. 3 different comments there. Brilliant. So let's have a look at some practical strategies here for sustaining skill development through coaching. First point I've got here is reflection and assessment with structured coaching support. That's one way. That's one strategy. We're giving you 4. The second one is, we're giving you 3. The second one is group coaching and peer accountability circles. The third strategy we're giving you is milestone-based coaching for tracking progress and motivation. Let's go there. The first one, and this one is talking about reflection and self-assessment with structured coaching support. It's so funny how we're always saying, how a number of us are saying, talking about feedback. It's not so easy. I want to see myself. It's not so easy. But when you integrate reflection and self-assessment exercises into coaching sessions, it will encourage your employees to evaluate their strengths, their challenges, and their areas of improvement. At EZ37 Solutions, we did this. We were engaged by a prominent commercial bank who is a partner client of ourselves, and they recognized that despite the technical competence of their female talent, there was a gap in their progression into leadership roles. And there was a real need for targeted intervention to address the leadership challenges that were faced by the women in the organization. So we were brought in and we deployed an initiative that began with deployment of personality assessments. And these personality assessments provided insights for these women leaders or women aspiring leaders to see their strengths, to see their areas of opportunities that they could work on, to understand themselves, understand their triggers, understand their motivations, understand the strengths they bring to the organization. So because this feedback was given by a coach, it was in a safe space, because we're human. We are human. And it can be hurtful if somebody gives you your feedback and it's not well presented, but if it's by a coach, you can be sure. So we were able to debrief the assessments with them, and it gave them an opportunity to reflect and begin to consider how they could improve on their style, on their approach, how they could become more courageous, how they could have more clarity, how they could see themselves better. So we were able to deploy these assessment tools, and we utilize, coaching support to support them. So this is one approach. And what we found, of course, was there was increased confidence. By the time we used personality assessments, we debriefed it, we used coaching skills and all of that. There was increased confidence and participation. There was leadership advancement. The number of women stepping forward to assume leadership roles increased. And this positive development not only benefited the business by tapping into a diverse leadership base, but it also aligned with the regulatory requirement for enhanced women representation at senior level. So the regulatory bodies had said, you need to have more women in leadership, but the women were not stepping up. And we're like, oh, we can't do it. It seemed, how are we going to balance it? So we came in, EZ came in, and were able to deploy these personality assessments. They were able to reflect on their strengths, their weaknesses, etc., and it brought about a very positive improvement for this financial institution. Another approach you can try is also group coaching and peer accountability circles. And so you could set up group coaching sessions or peer accountability circles to foster a collaborative environment. Yeah. So what happens here is the employees can share their experience, they can discuss their challenges, and they can support each other in skill application, creating a collective reinforcement model. Because even in the group coaching or the peer accountability circles, there are norms. There's also confidentiality. It's also a safe space. And so according to Deloitte's Human Capital Trends, peer coaching and group coaching improves skill application rates by over 30% because individuals feel encouraged to stay consistent and are motivated by group support. What we have found at EZ37 Solutions is when we're having our group coaching, because you have different personality types, different individuals from sometimes different functional areas, somebody will say, no, that cannot work. Another person will say, actually, I tried it and see how it worked for me. So somebody else who may not be as confident or as comfortable may be encouraged by somebody else. So you can bring in group coaching as a strategy. And then milestone-based coaching is another one. And here you set milestone for skill application with periodic sessions to evaluate progress towards each milestone. And there was some research by Gallup that highlighted that milestone-based coaching increases employees' long-term commitment to skill mastery by up to 25%. And when employees can see tangible progress and reach smaller goals, it doesn't have to be something so huge. Even smaller milestones, they feel more engaged, they feel more motivated. It reduces skill decay. We always assume that this person up there, they got it all sorted, but you'd be amazed. So another research from Deloitte highlights that coaching supports employees in real time, allowing them to test and adapt newly acquired skills to practical situations. And then organizations that peer application projects with coaching, they also report up to 50% higher confidence level in skills use compared to training alone, as employees will feel better equipped to tackle real challenges. So I'm circling back to you now. Again, please think about a recent skill or knowledge area you learned through a training session. How might having a coach to support your development have helped you to either apply or retain the skill better? What would you say about this? How might this have helped you? Would love you to raise your hand and just share. There's no wrong answer. How do you think coaching might have been able to support you in a recent training or knowledge area that you acquired? And you can take a moment to first capture your thoughts, jot them down, think about it, and then feel free to share. Kind of support to have made that skill more applicable or maybe faster for you to apply it in your daily roles. Reflection time. How could coaching have supported you better apply your skills? Thank you, Amy. Amy, would you like to speak? Anna, would we be able to unmute Amy for her to share?
I would love to. Amy, do you mind raising your hand virtually? I think it will be easier for me to find you. Well,
thank you, Anna.
I think I'm able. Yep, excellent. All right, Amy, the floor is yours.
Okay, within the last month or so, I did a webinar on the use of AI within learning and development. It wasn't the one in GLC, but I did something similar. And I learned about a lot of neat AI tools like Notebook LM, some other ones. And I think coaching after, I could have, maybe there'd been an exercise I could have actually practiced using it, using the AI tool and gotten feedback from a coach on how it went, and maybe just have a conversation with a coach about how I could integrate that into my instructional design workflow.
Beautiful. Absolutely. I really appreciate you sharing this, Amy. Thank you. Thank you. And interestingly, Amy, it almost speaks to, I just seen something else in the chat box from Chika that's saying, I recently learned about networking. So similar to Amy who learned AI, Chika learned about networking, and she's saying that a coach could have helped her practice it more frequently so that it becomes an active skill rather than a latent one or head knowledge. So Amy, you'd have felt a lot more comfortable being able to practice and try out and get feedback and so on. And in a similar light, Chika also would have benefited a lot more from having a coach support her with practicing. Thank you so much for that. Okay. So a few other comments. I'll just take one more. Kertida says, our trainer set up group coaching sessions to practice technology related skills, which helped us. Brilliant. Pleased that this is something that you're already experiencing and you're seeing the value. We also did practice training sessions, which helped us practice what we had learned in a non-threatening environment. Wow, there's a key word there, Kertida. That key word is non-threatening. Do you know that sometimes the environment can be threatening, but sometimes it's not threatening, but it can be perceived to be threatening? But when you're in a safe space with a coach, then you're like, hey, I can try this out because this coach has my best interest as a non-judgmental person. It's the person is open-minded and they will give me constructive feedback. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate everyone who has shared that. Zach is asking to see the last strategy. So Zach, that's what we have there. Thank you. So in conclusion, yes, training is exceptionally brilliant and it gives us the tools and the knowledge we need to succeed. While coaching gives us the confidence, the adaptability, and the resilience to apply these skills in ways that lead to real lasting change. I'll be very happy to take our questions at this point. And while we're jotting them down or raising our hands, I'll pause for a moment. Questions, comments, clarifications?
Adaora, I believe there are some examples that our participants posted in chat about how coaching have helped them. Maybe you can comment on them.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I've scrolled up a little bit and I've seen one from Nana. Thank you so much, Nana. Nana says experiential learning. Yeah, and having discussions. Exactly. Experiential learning. So trying out, learning by doing in a safe space, probably with a coach, having discussions in a safe space, most likely with a coach. So Nana, thank you for that. And I've touched on Chika's comment. I went back. Zach, I hope you got that. I've also picked up on Kertida's. Oh, thank you. Afia, I've seen yours. Training and coaching should go hand in hand. And I think that even if we didn't know this before, or we were not convinced about it before, I believe that having gone through today's webinar, we can see that definitely what Afia is saying is very, very, very key. Training and coaching should go hand in hand. Thank you for that, Afia. Oh, thank you, Kertida, for the comment. Appreciate that. You found it an interesting session. Oh, I truly appreciate your participation, made it also interesting. So thank you for contributing and for really aligning with the norms of sharing because you care. Dr. Sharif said, oh, thank you, Dr. Sharif. Absolutely great presentation. Thank you for your time. I thank you too. Okay, super. So I'm going to move ahead, Anna, because I can see that we have come to the end of the presentation. And just to revisit the content and objectives, we started this journey together, and we said we're going to look at coaching versus training. What are the key differences and the complementary roles, so that now you should be able to explain the key differences between coaching and training and how they do complement each other. And I am going to ask you to give me a thumbs up or a green tick or something to indicate that, yes, we've achieved our objectives. The second content, Femi, thank you. Fingers on the buzzer. Thank you. Coach Femi, thank you. Dada, thank you. The second content area was techniques for integrating coaching with training programs. And we said by now you should be able to recognize some techniques for integrating coaching into training. And the last content area we said we'll look at was strategies for reinforcing and sustaining skills through coaching. So now you should be able to list some strategies for reinforcing and sustaining skills through coaching. So thank you all for your comments and feedback. And as I close this session, I really want to ask, what has been your key takeaway from the session? Please share your key takeaway from the session today. It could be one word, it could be a sentence, whatever your key takeaway is, please put that in the chat box. And if you're a trainer in the house and Anna has spoken about coaching courses, the course that she had spoken about that gives you 11 hours. And we also have a certification program. The course Anna spoke about is by IFC, and this program that I'm showing you on the screen is by EZ37 Solutions, accredited by the International Coaching Federation as the leading and largest body of professional coaching globally, the gold standard. So they've accredited this program. If you would like to become a certified professional coach, would love to support you on that journey, and so that you can utilize coaching not just in your trainings, but in your everyday life and become a transformed individual, adding value to your world. So this, the onboarding for this is coming up on the 17th of November. That's this Sunday. So if you'd like an invitation, please just scan the QR code on the screen. And I believe Coach Patricia is here with us and may just drop, the enrollment form or something in the chat box. Or Oluwaseun, please, thank you. Partners at EZ37 Solutions. And if you'd like to reach out to me, my details are on the screen. Anna has put in a link in the chat box for your feedback. So I think at this point, I will say thank you all. I appreciate your participation. I can see the comments in the chat box. And thank you. Wonderful learning the difference between coaching and training. And yes, please keep your comments coming in. So Anna, I'm very respectful of everyone's time. And I see there are quite a few comments there. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay. So please, does she want to unmute? I see there's a comment here from Amy. If we have time. Amy, do you want to talk about the Kolb's experiential learning cycle? And I can just then speak to the learning cycle and we can see where the similarities are. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, when I was doing my adult learning program, I learned about the Kolb cycle, which starts with giving learners an experience. And I can see how that relates to gloss and getting their attention, like making it relevant. So having an experience, having them then reflect on that experience, then there's the actual going into the learning the concepts, the conceptualization, and finally the apply, which I can see certainly in the I think it's the off part. I just always wondered, like I know in the old Business Edge program used like the gloss and the feed and all that. So I'm wondering if you can speak to, yeah, how that relates to Kolb.
Okay, all right. So I'll do this high level. Thank you so much. And what we're trying to achieve with the learning cycle is to ensure that we consider every single learner style. And hence we were looking at, the activists, the pragmatists, the reflectors, and every learning style that we have in our training space. Okay, so the effective learning is achieved when learners progress through each stage. And the core learning process, I'm not very familiar with that, but I do know that effective learning is also achieved with the core learning process when learners also progress through each stage of the core learning cycle. So learners may enter the cycle of learning at any step using a logical sequence. However, that's with the core learning process. With the learning cycle, typically you would do your gloss first. So there's a difference. You would typically do your gloss first, because if you don't get their attention and get them to understand what's in it for them, they wouldn't progress to the other stages of the learning cycle. So please let me know if you took anything away from that. High level, I'm not familiar with the learning, the IFC learning cycle. So just waiting for some feedback. This is something that we could dive deeper into post this webinar. Yeah. But we're making
Tibogo also raised hand.
Okay.
So Tibogo, I'm gonna unmute you. Okay. Tibogo, can you hear us?
I just wanted to see that the previous slide whereby it showed that the course that will be opening on Sunday. I didn't capture that QR code.
The previous slide. What previous slide? Please, can you just refer to? Can you just specify the specific one? Anna, please, did you get that? I didn't quite get that.
I'm not sure which slide, but maybe we can kind of scroll back a little bit and Tibogo can point out to the specific slide.
Okay. Please let me know. Okay, we may need to get some reaction from him, Anna, to be sure where I'm going. I'm not sure where I'm going.
Is muted.
Okay. Tibogo, which is it, please? All right. So Anna, do we want to get any other comments in the meantime?
I don't see any more raised hands. Let me check quickly.
Okay. All right. So I was trying to see. Okay. All right. So